What's up, YouTube? Your boy back once again with another sport topic, and today we're going to talk some football, Houston Texans football. Today we're going to talk about the Houston Texans 2025 NFL schedule. We're going to talk about, we're going to break it down. But before we get in there, like I've been telling you before, man, if you're liking the content, make sure you're liking the channel. Make sure you're watching all the videos. You're liking all the videos. You're sharing all the videos. You're commenting all the videos. And you're sharing all the videos on all social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, any type of social media platform you use. Make sure you share them same social media platforms. Also, follow me on social media as well. The link in the description below. We're still trying to get this channel growing and growing and growing. I can't do that without y'all help. So you know what that means? It means I need y'all to do your part. So it means I need you to tell a friend, so they can 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 tell some more friends, and put them on game with the channel. Really, really appreciate that. Now, let's talk about it. So the Houston Texans 2025 NFL schedule has dropped, and actually dropped a couple of weeks ago. I understand. I get it. I know I'm late. I know people probably went through the schedule with a fine-tooth comb, picking out all the key matchups, the primetime games, all the, hey, look what the Texans are going to be playing here on Monday Night Football, here on Thursday Night Football, here on Sunday Night Football, all the different type of things, Battle Red, and the Liberty White games, and Deep Steel Blue games, and things like that. I understand people probably been picking through this schedule through like a fine-tooth comb for the past couple of weeks. I understand. I get it. I'm late. But people been hitting me up saying, hey, Spence, hey, bro, what you think about the schedule? The Texans schedule dropped, and you ain't really said nothing about it. What you think about? What you think about the games that we got? What you think about where the games are slated? The opponents we have? What you think the Texans are going to do this year? Do you think we got a good, favorable matchup and schedule and things like that? So I said, you know what? What I should do. What's the best way to go through the schedule, game by game? Do it with y'all. So that's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna go game by game. We're gonna look through the entirety of the schedule. And we're gonna pick up some key components and some key matchups in the game, and maybe talk about some things that possibly some people probably didn't even bring up. So let's talk about it. So week one, the Houston Texans will kick off the season at Los Angeles Rams, week one against the Rams at a 3:25 kickoff. So it's not like normally, the Texans play at noon o'clock on Sundays. So this is going to be the afternoon game on the opening weekend. So it'll get a little bit later than the Texans are normally playing, but it's on the road. It's the third straight year on the road that the Texans go on the road to kick off the season, and it's to the Los Angeles Rams. And a lot of good things about this matchup, because one, I think it's actually a good test for this brand new offense that we're going to be running. One, this is Nick Caley's former team, the team he's been on for the last 2-3 years as the passing game coordinator and tight ends coach. CJ's talked about acknowledging how much he really respects, and the person tape he probably watched the most is Matt Stafford. He really thinks that Matt Stafford is just one of those type of quarterbacks, one of the greatest quarterbacks that he's seen play. So he really likes his tape. So he really also respects Sean McVay and that offense and things like that. So I think it's a good thing. Also, CJ going back home to LA. He's from California. So all those type of things are definitely his first time playing in LA since he's been in the NFL. So I think a lot of stuff like that. Also, it's also just a really good matchup as far as our offensive line against this front. So it's a good test. Week one, we're gonna find out about the Houston Texans and Nick Kelly's offense week one. We're gonna find out week one, because that's a difficult front to go up against. So we're gonna see exactly what this offensive line can do against that front. Not to mention what our secondary is going to be able to do against that offense. You talk about Puka Nacua. They just added in Devontae Adams. Hey, Devontae Adams, again, with a worse team with the New York Jets, had a very good game against us last year on Thursday Night Football with Aaron Rodgers. So we see him out there with a Sean McVay offense, and also see him out there with a Matthew Stafford quarterback as well. So I think that's going to be a good test against our secondary as well. And like I said, obviously our offensive line against that front. So I think that's a very good test week one. So we're going to find out about the Texans offense very early on, really the Texan team, but we're going to find out about the Texans offense specifically week one. So I think that's a really good, interesting matchup. Week two, home opener against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it's also Monday Night Football. The first primetime game of the season comes at week two, just like last year. The Texans' first primetime game last year was week two, was the season home opener last year against Chicago Bears. Except last year it was on Sunday Football against Chicago Bears. This time it's Monday Night Football, and this is the first Monday night game that the Texans played since 2018 against Tennessee. The first one that they hosted, rather. It's not the first Monday night game they played, because they played Monday night last year, but it's the first home Monday night game since 2018 when they played against Tennessee in 2018. Monday football against Tampa Bay. It's a doubleheader on Monday night. So it's the first Monday night game. It's a 6 o'clock kickoff. Liberty White. You already know how we do home open. It's going to be a Liberty White game. And this is a very good, interesting matchup as well because the last time the Texans played against Tampa Bay, we all remember that's the game where CJ went off his rookie year. 740 yards was the NFL rookie record for the most yards in the game. 5 touchdowns and scoring that last touchdown with Tank Dell with 40 seconds left to go on the clock to go out there and win. It was a back and forth game, a very good, entertaining game. So the NFL schedule makers knew exactly what they were doing about putting this game is like putting this game as a prime time game, and also let's get in the way. Let's get out the way early. So we don't worry about nobody. I won't have to worry about nothing funny going on, because I think that's kind of what ruined the Texan Dallas game last year on Monday Football, because you didn't have Dak in that game last year against Dallas in mid-November. So hey, let's get this early on in the season, and also Tampa Bay is an explosive offense themselves. Last year, Baker Mayfield threw for over 4,500 yards and over 40 touchdowns, and just had a monster of a season himself. Not to mention, he's went to the playoffs the last 2 years, won division out there in Tampa Bay, and also it's a reunion between CJ and rookie receiver Emeka Ibuka got drafted by Tampa Bay in the first round. So we're going to be able to get to see a quick reunion between CJ and one of his former receivers. But again, I think this is going to be a very explosive, high-power matchup, because especially what I expect out of the Texans offense this season, I think that this is going to be a very entertaining game, and the NFL schedule makers knew exactly what they were doing when they did that. Now, the next couple of games are going to be some noon o'clock kickoffs. So you got week 3. First divisional game is going to be at Jacksonville, noon o'clock kickoff. So we're going to get to see Travis Hunter and BTJ early on at Jacksonville, week 3. Week 4, another divisional game, home against Tennessee. Our first look at number 1 overall pick, Cam Ward. So we get our first look at Cam Ward for the season at home against Tennessee. Now, we understand what happened last time Tennessee came into Houston. There was the only divisional loss we had last year. Tennessee caught slipping. So we can't, first of all, we got them early on. We get to see Cam Ward early on to the season, week 4, and we don't want to be able to take them lightly because we don't know exactly what they're going to be able to do. So week 4, home open, not home open, but second home game of the season, week 4 against Tennessee. Now, week 5. Week 5 is at Baltimore. Baltimore, Lamar Jackson, that's our nemesis. Since we've had DeMeco Ryans and CJ Stroud as our head coach and quarterback, and really since Lamar Jackson's been in the field, because the 2 times that we played Lamar Jackson before CJ was a Houston Texan didn't bode well for the Houston Texans at all anyway. So let alone since we had CJ and DeMeco Ryans, and we get them early on this year. Like the first time we played them with CJ and DeMeco was week 1, so we get them early on this year. Last year we got them at the end of the season. This year we're gonna get them early on, week 5, noon o'clock game at Baltimore. Obviously going to be an early test. And the one thing I do like is the following week is the bye week. So we're able to recuperate and reset whatever is any type of issues the first 5 weeks of the game. So we got home, we go to the Rams week 1, home against Tampa Bay, at Jacksonville, home against Tennessee, then at Baltimore. Then we get the reset and get a bye week to be able to, the first 5 weeks, see exactly what we got to do, and we keep on going. Again, I don't really like that the bye week is really that early, but I do like the fact that the bye week is after the Baltimore Raven game. Now, week 7, because like I said, week 6 is our bye week. Week 7, on the road, Monday Night Football again, second primetime game of the season, Monday Night Football at Seattle. And it's a late game. It's another doubleheader, just like the first Monday Night Football game is a doubleheader, but we played the early game against Tampa. This time we played the late game. It's a 9 o'clock kickoff Central Time. A 9 o'clock Central Time kickoff. So that means on the East Coast, that's a 10 o'clock kickoff. So it's a late game against Seattle, 9 o'clock kickoff, Monday Night Football. And if you're in the local area, if you're in the Houston area, you're going to be able to watch the game on local TV. But if not, you're going to have to watch it on ESPN Plus, if I'm not mistaken. I think the game's going to be on ESPN Plus. But 9 o'clock kickoff, Monday Night Football against Seattle. We know that they got some new quarterbacks and new weapons over there, so we see exactly what they're going to be able to do over there. But another primetime game against Seattle. Kind of questionable that it's Seattle. That's another primetime game. I have a reasoning for that, but we're going to talk about that after I go through the schedule. But Monday Night Football game. Week 8, back home against the San Francisco 49ers, noon o'clock game. H-Town Blue game. So it's going to be the game we break out the H-Town Blue. We got the Liberty White game week 2 against Tampa Bay. Week 8, we're going to break out the H-Town Blue jersey. So, hey, we're going to break out H-Town Blue jersey against San Francisco 49ers. So, D'Amico Ryans against his old team and Kyle Shanahan. So, we get to see that reunion. But that game's going to be in Houston, noon o'clock kickoff. Week 9 against Denver. Another home game against Denver, noon o'clock kickoff. So against to see the Broncos, week 9. Week 10, we get our second match against the Jacksonville Jaguars, noon o'clock kickoff against the Jacksonville Jaguars, week 10. Week 11 at Tennessee, another noon game, but against Tennessee. And I just noticed that we played Jacksonville and Tennessee back to back both times this season. Week 3 and week 4, and then week 10 and week 11. I actually just noticed that just now as I'm recording this. I didn't notice this when I first seen the schedule, and I didn't notice it as I was writing this down. But week 10, week 11, back to back Jacksonville at back to back Jacksonville versus Tennessee. So week 11 we play against the Tennessee Titans at Tennessee. Week 12, so it's a short week. Week 12. Thursday night football against the Buffalo Bills. Our third primetime game, Buffalo Bills at home, Battle Red Day, Amazon Prime, 7:15 kickoff against the Buffalo Bills. We already know what this is. Last time the Buffalo Bills was at NRG Stadium, Josh Allen, the MVP, the eventual MVP, Josh Allen was 9 of 30. But even though he was 9 of 30, the Texans still had to win with a walk-off field goal by Connie Fairbairn because we allowed them to hang around for as long as we let them hang around, even though our defense was punishing them enough that, like I say, Josh Allen, the MVP, was 9 of 30, but they still was able to put up 20 points, and we were only able to put up 20 points, with 23 points to win the game, but only able to put up 20 points and have to get a walk-off field goal at the end by Connie Fairbairn. I think it was like a 51, 52-yard field goal for us to win the football game and win 23-20. So, again, that's when the NFL decides, like, hey, that game right there should be a primetime game because it was a close game, even though it kind of looked a little bit ugly, especially if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, but that's a game that we can't take lightly, and we can't just say, "Oh, we're going to go and hold Josh Allen to another 9 of 30 performance." So we got to be able to be on our P's and Q's at that one. So week 13 is the first time we see him on the schedule. The Indianapolis Colts. Week 13, noon o'clock game at Indy. So we go to Indy, week 13. And then right after that, another away game at Kansas City. Sunday Night Football, 7:20 on NBC. Sunday Night Football, NBC at KC. So we have Buffalo, Indy, and then KC. So Indy is sandwiched at a road Indy game is sandwiched in between hosting the Buffalo Bills on Thursday Night Football and then going to KC on Sunday Night Football. And hey, I knew that this game was going to be a primetime game. Two games that I knew, like when I looked at the schedule, opponents what I thought was going to be primetime games was the Tampa Bay game because of what I mentioned earlier, and also the way that we looked against Kansas City. Because if Fairbairn makes extra points, it makes field goals. I feel like the Texans beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the divisional round, and I feel like the NFL schedule makers kind of show you that as well by making us go to Kansas City and putting that to be a Sunday Night Football game. So at Sunday Night Football, Week 14 at Kansas City, Week 15 noon o'clock game against Arizona. Week 16. I'm sorry. Against a home against the Las Vegas Raiders, a 3:25 kickoff game against the Las Vegas Raiders. Week 17 is at the Chargers, and that game does not have a time or a date. And the reason why, because that's the last 2 weeks of the season, and you know the NFL, they want to be able to have some games, to be able to they want flexibility, maybe potentially put that game on a Saturday game, and then they don't know if they want to make it the early Saturday game or the late Saturday game. So depending on what the Texans and the Chargers are looking like, if they both handling their business and they both are two potential playoff teams win the division, leading their divisions in the hunt, or again, these two teams might be battling each other for potential playoff spots themselves, or at the very least playoff seedings. That right there will determine if this will be a noon o'clock game on Sunday, or if this will be a Saturday game as a 3:30 game, or a Saturday game as a noon o'clock game, or a Saturday game as a 7 p.m. plus game. So it will determine if this game will be a primetime game or if this just be a regular day game or if it'll be a Saturday day game. Or I think it even has the potential to even be a Friday game because I think by that time, um, because the NFL is not allowed to play on Fridays while college football is going on until until like bowl season. That's the reason why they have to wait later on. I think at first they couldn't do it at all, but now they got the whole Black Friday games. I think they pay. If I'm not mistaken, I think Jeff Bezos paid like a lot of money, so he's able to get that. Was able to get that slot from college football. So he had to pay a whole bunch of money to be able to get that slot. So that's why we have the Black Friday game the day after Thanksgiving on Fridays. But if I'm not mistaken, I think by that time that Friday slate will be open because I think it's during the time of maybe the college football playoffs. So I do think that slot is open for the NFL if they able to use it, if they can find a way to use it. So it could end up being a Friday game, but we'll see as the season goes along what that Chargers game is going to be. And then we all know Week 18, those games are always to be determined because they want to put those games depending on what the playoff standings look like. But that game is hosting against the Indianapolis Colts. Our last game against Indy, so we played both Jacksonville and Tennessee. We finished both Jacksonville and Tennessee 2 weeks before we even see Indy the first time. And then because we don't see Indy till week 13 to week 18. We see Jacksonville and Tennessee week 3, week 4, and then also see Jacksonville and Tennessee week 10 and week 11. And we don't see Indy till week 13, and then don't see him again in week 18. But that's how the schedule is. Not It's a stretch where we have 3 home games in a row: San Fran, Denver, and Jacksonville. And then we have another stretch. We have 2 home games in a row, and the Chargers, but the Cardinals and the Vegas Raiders. And the only time we have 2 back-to-back road games is Indy and KC. Other than that, it's really home away. Outside of the 3 home games we got in a row and the 2 home games we got in a row, and then the one time we have the 2 away games in a row. Um, Overall, looking at the schedule, probably my biggest issue with the schedule, honestly, is the bye week. I don't like the fact that the bye week is so early in the season. I like the bye week to be around week 8, week 9, week 10. I like it to be in the middle of the season. So I like it to be that you play, 7, 8, 9 games before you have a bye week. I did not like the late bye week that we had last year. That we had a bye week that we only had 3 games left. I couldn't stand that. But I like this one way better than that. Like that was the worst case scenario. The bye week that we had got last year, I feel like was the worst case scenario for the Texans. The bye week that we have this year, it's better, but it's still early. I mean, you play 5 games and then you turn around and you play 12 games now. Was it 12? Is it like 12 games in a row now, if I'm not mistaken? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, you play 12. You play 12 games in a row. You play 5 games. You turn around. You're gonna play 12 straight games plus the playoffs. And I think getting a bye week now in today's NFL, because they eliminated the second seed having the bye week, getting the bye week is very crucial in my opinion right now because you're gonna play 12 straight weeks. Now, last year you played forgot how many weeks we played in a row. I think it might have been 14 straight weeks in a row before you got your bye week last year. Because then you only had what KC Balt it was Miami, KC, Baltimore, Tennessee. Yeah, you only had the last 4 games of the season to finish out. Then you also had the playoffs. Not to mention we had an extra preseason game last year because we had the Hall of Fame game. So we played a lot of football last year in a row too. And I do think that the Texans was running on fumes when we got towards the end. We got to that Miami. We got to that last stretch, and also playing with four games and 10 game span, 3 games in the 10 game span, whatever it was. This is just a crazy stretch. And I do think that was very detrimental to the Texans. The way the Texans play, even though the Texans were able to persevere, they was able to go in that 4 game stretch 2-2, and they was able to go into the playoffs and win the playoff game. So it ultimately didn't hurt them in that aspect, but it did. I did think it took a lot out of them. One of the things I know people were surprised at was how many primetime games the Texans got. People were of the mindset that the Texans weren't going to get that many primetime games because I think a lot of people felt like they were down on the Texans. And like I was telling people last year, like the Texans played 4 primetime games last year. You had the home game against the Chicago Bears on Sunday Night Football. You had Thursday Night Football against you had Thursday Night Football against the Jets. You had Sunday Night Football against the Lions, and then you had a Monday Night Football game against Dallas. The Texans went 2-2 in those 4 primetime games. Because again, the KC game and the Ravens game, those are not primetime games. Primetime is a time slot. That's what is considered primetime. Not those other games are national televised, but not primetime games. The primetime games are the Sunday night football, Monday night football, Thursday night football, and Saturday night football when those games have night games. But though, and also the Friday night games like the Brazil game and like the Brazil game because the Black Friday game that's an afternoon game too. It's not even a night game as well. But the Texans went 2-2 in those primetime games, and then one of the ones that they lost was a quote unquote back and forth game. That was disappointing for the Texans. As a Texan fan, it was disappointing against the Lions because you forced not Josh Allen, but you forced Jared Goff to throw 5 interceptions, and you allowed them to come back and win the game. But it was a entertaining game from a non-Texan slash Lion fan, just a regular NFL fan. That was an entertaining game. Like I said about the idea when it comes to the Tampa Bay game. When you look at what the last time these two teams played, that game is an entertaining game. They still play that game right now, 2 years later, on the NFL Network. Like if you go watch, like just a random time you put on the NFL Network or a random time you put on one of those channels that's constantly playing old NFL games, though that game be on. Like sometimes if you ever go to a restaurant or something like that, and they just playing old sporting events because it's like midday, so nothing's really going on. Randomly, I've seen that Texans Tampa Bay games on because that was a entertaining game. Like I said about the Kansas City game, the Texans had a very good showing in both games actually because when Tank Dell got hurt, that was the tying touchdown. Now we actually didn't tie because Fairbairn missed the extra point, but that was a potential tying touchdown. And then the divisional round game, we go in the fourth quarter only down by a point. We go in the fourth quarter down 13-12, and we dominated that third quarter. And again, if Fairbairn makes extra points and makes field goals, I firmly believe the Texans walk away and beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And then you have people on ESPN like Stephen A. and Marcus Spears and other people come out there and say, "Hey, the NFL cheated. The refs cheated the Texans." I don't think they're like, "Hey, the refs cheated the Texans." So you had people coming out after that game, be like, "Hey, the Texans like they play on Will Anderson. That was some bull." Or the one when Pat fall down and they threw a flag. That was some BS. Like you had people on national media saying these type of things. So because of that, I do think intrigue is on that game. Then you also have the Buffalo Bill game. Again, the Texans actually beat Buffalo last year. And again, Josh Allen, even though he went 9-30, it still was an entertaining game from entertainment purposes. He went 9-30, and it was still tied at 20 with less than 10 seconds left. And the Texans need a walk-off field goal, 50-plus yard field goal by Fairbairn to walk away with the win. So again, you're talking about entertaining games. The one that kind of like sticks out is the Monday night game against Seattle. And when you look at Seattle's schedule, the week before week 6, they play at, if I'm not mistaken, I think they play at Jacksonville. So they play at Jacksonville the week before, and that's the East Coast, flying all the way West Coast home to Seattle, Washington. And I think, especially being that late of a game, I think that they want to give Seattle some time to rest. I think that's really what it was. I think they wanted to give Seattle some time to rest. So, hey, we give you an extra day. So we put it on Monday. We give you an extra day, and we'll make it a doubleheader, and we'll give you the latest game that we can give you. So we'll give you a 9 o'clock kickoff Central Time, Eastern Time. That's a 10 o'clock kickoff p.m. So we'll extend it that far. So we extend it as far as we possibly can. That's as far as we possibly can to give you this big layout since you're traveling from the East Coast all the way back home to the West Coast. I mean, the Texans are going to be coming off a bye week. Texans are going to be coming off a bye week, traveling now. In that same vein, the Texans are going to be leaving Seattle probably around like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and coming back home and have a noon kickoff on Sunday against San Francisco. But at least it's a home game, and it's not that they got to travel to Jacksonville or travel to Tennessee or travel to Indy or travel to KC or anything or travel anywhere else. So at least they come back home and it's a noon o'clock game. So I think that's probably the reason why that Seattle game, because that's the only game that's like, one of these things is not like the other, because you can see, okay, Tampa Bay playoff team, Baker Mayfield, the way he's been playing for the last 2 years, and then the last time these two teams played, the offensive fireworks that happened. Hey, them and KC been battling the last 2 years, and that divisional game was an entertaining game. And then the Buffalo Bill game. Hey, the last time Buffalo was in Houston, the Texans beat Buffalo, and the MVP Josh Allen really got shut down in that game. And even though he got shut down, it still was an entertaining game. But all in all, I do like the way that the schedule looks, the way it's been put together. I do, all in all, like the way that the schedule looks. Outside that bye week, this is a personal gripe for me. Personal. This is personal. I do think not. I have no problem with Monday Night Football game against Tampa Bay. I have no problem with that being our first home game. I have no problem with that being a Monday Night Football game, because I definitely think that game was going to be a primetime game. 2 years in a row, our home opener has been a primetime game. And you know what the Texans do home opening wise every year, I think since 2006. Every year since 2006, maybe 2005. Either 2005 or 2006, one of the two. But I think it's 2006. I think 2006 was the first time we did it. The Texans home opener is the Liberty White game, the all white. And that's one of my favorite combinations. I want to see these H-Town blue jerseys in prime time. Like we seen last year, we seen the Battle Red in prime time. We seen last year the Liberty White against the Bears in prime time. We seen the all deep steel blue against Dallas in Monday Night Football, because of the way the prime time lights is, the way the settings is, and the way they utilize the lights on NBC and ESPN, Amazon Prime. I want to see these H-Town blue jerseys. I want to see these H-Town blue jerseys in that primetime setting. Because last year it was Buffalo Bills, and then we also got to see it on Netflix, but it wasn't a primetime setting. I want to see the H-Town blue jerseys in a primetime setting. I want to see it in a primetime setting. I really do. I really do. So that's the, because one, like I've always said, I don't want to see that all battle red. That red and white is different, but that all battle red helmet, red jersey, red pants, that has to be a prime time. Like that's one of those stuff that you cannot do. You can't throw that out noon o'clock against the Las Vegas Raiders. You can't throw that out noon o'clock against Jacksonville. You can't throw that at noon o'clock against Tennessee. That should be for your primetime game. That should be Sunday Night Football against the Detroit Lions. Thursday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills. Absolutely. That's where that goes. So that has to be a primetime game. I really want to see the H-Town blue jerseys on primetime. And this year, the NFL allowed that you can wear your alternate jerseys a combination of 4 times. Previously, it's only been 3. That's the reason why last year you only seen it against you seen the H-Town blue jerseys against Buffalo. You seen the all battle red against the Lions, and then you got to see the H-Town blue jerseys again against Baltimore. This year we got 4 chances. So the 2 times that we know, H-Town blue against the 49ers week 8. Week 12, Battle Red against Buffalo. I'm pretty sure that's going to be the all Battle Red. I think they will probably see the other Battle Red, like the red and white. We'll probably see it possibly week 9 against Denver, because that's an all blue team. So we'll probably see it against them week 9, or also potentially week 16 against the Raiders. So one of those two times we'll see like the red and white one, like the red jersey, white pants, and I think probably the other H Town Blue game will probably you might see it week 10 against Jacksonville, or you might see it another time. You might see it could be against the against Vegas against Vegas week 16, or also week 15 against KC. I mean, not against, I keep saying KC, but week 15 against Arizona because Arizona's colors are red and white. So they might throw that blue in. So I think against Arizona you're either gonna see all blue, like the all deep steel blue, or you're gonna see the H Town blue against Arizona. So I think it's gonna be one of those two aspects when you go up against Arizona. But like I say, I think the Denver and the Vegas game could be the other Battle Red game, and then also Jacksonville and the Vegas game could be the and the Arizona game. One of those games are going to be the other candidate for the second time you can be able to see the H Town Blue game. So I think that's probably what you're going to see, one of those type of conversations in one of those games. So I think that's another time you might be able to see some of them jerseys. But all in all, I think it's a good schedule. Sorry for the wait. Sorry for the wait. Sorry for the wait. But I do think it's going to be a good schedule. I think it is a good schedule. I like the way it's put together, and I think some good things for the team this season. I think we the schedule makers did us a favor. I think last year they did for obviously for entertainment purposes, putting us in that how the NFL thought. Because again, the NFL tells you exactly what they think about every team every year when they make schedules. And when they put teams in a certain block, and when they put us last year with the Kansas City Chiefs, who were the two-time defending Super Bowl champions, the Baltimore Ravens, the defending MVP, and Lamar Jackson, and Pittsburgh Steelers, who's a historic franchise, when they put us in that same block with those teams, they showed you exactly how they felt about the Houston Texans going into the 2024 NFL season. They showed you exactly what they thought about this team. And the Texans still won 10 games, won the AFC South, won a playoff game by 20 points, and and actually this time was more competitive in the divisional round than they were the year before. Now, is it the same amount of hype last year? No, because the way CJ looked from his rookie year to last year, so it's not the same amount of hype. But the NFL still showed you what they thought about you, giving you 4 primetime games, and 3 of these primetime games are legitimate box office games. I feel like the Tampa Bay game, the Tampa Bay game, the Buffalo Bill game, and the Chief game. They are showing you right there because they could have easily gave you Kansas City a noon o'clock game. They gave you Kansas City in December, week 14 at KC in December, and gave you their premium primetime game, Sunday Night Football, which is the NFL's premium game. The premium game of the week is Sunday Night Football, NBC, Sunday Night Football. And that's when they put Kansas City, you versus Kansas City. So they're telling you right there when they made that in the schedule, like, hey, the last 2 times they played this team tough, and they possibly really should have probably beat them in that divisional round. We're gonna give them that game. Jeff Bezos, since Jeff Bezos has taken over, he's trying to make these Thursday night games as much competitive as he possibly can, or at least box office, either real competitive or real box office. So showing you what they're doing when it comes to the Buffalo Bill game. The only game that you might like say look at kind of side eye when it comes to the primetime game is the Seattle game. But like I said, I think that's more so of them trying to make way for Seattle. But again, they could have gave that Seattle game to somebody else though too. Like they could have been Seattle versus Indy on Monday Night Football. That game, the Texans only got 3 primetime games. That right there, the NFL schedule maker showing you exactly how they feel about the Texans. I don't care about what the odds are saying. You have some odds. I think got the Texans only winning 9.5 games. I've seen some people picking Jacksonville or Indy to win the division. And I think some people just try to be contrary, just try to be a little bit different. Again, if I'm not mistaken, the Texans are still the favorite to win the AFC South. Now, again, they have to handle their business. to win the division. But I think the Texans are still the favorite to win the AFC South. And like I was just saying, like I do think that the Texans um I do think the Texans schedule makers and the schedule makers, when they made the schedule, showed you exactly what they felt about the Texans, and giving them those amount of primetime games, giving them 4 primetime games, the same as the Pittsburgh Steelers, the same as the Baltimore Ravens. I think they're like in the third percent. I think Kansas City has the most, and I think there's another tier that got like, I think Kansas City got the most with like 6. Then there's another tier that got like 5, and then us and like a good amount of really good solid teams got 4. So they, and then a lot of teams that got 3. Some teams got 2 and 1, and some teams even got none. So I think like 3 teams got none. I think like Tennessee, Cleveland, and somebody else got none. So it is what it is. Cleveland, like Jacksonville only got 1. It's a Monday night game against KC. I forgot how many Indy got. I think Indy might have 2. But again, they're showing you exactly what they feel about you when they feel about the Houston Texans going to the season. So, like I said, appreciate everybody coming.